Alright, ladies and gentlemen, buckle up for this one because it's about to get real weird.
Let's get weird! Let's get weird!
And that's weird spelled with a capital weird, man. Modern gaming feels like an air mattress that just won't stay full. You know what I mean? You keep pumping some air into it, but a small hole that goes largely unnoticed just keeps leaking air out. Gradually, the mattress descends to the floor. Oh wait, the hole got bigger? Yeah, you get the point. I've mentioned in previous videos that I feel indie developers are the ones carrying the industry on their backs right now. Their attempt to inject some life back into a deflated industry that is clearly missing something. Week after week, videos from various content creators decry major companies, and rightfully so, for their heinous actions, whether it's shoehorning an obvious agenda or massive layoffs. When it comes to actual implementation of ideas, everything feels just so samey, for lack of a better term. I gather around with the boys year after year hoping for a hype gaming news cycle in June to no avail. Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest tries, but it'll never capture that same magic of some of the E3s of yesteryear. Some game announcements here and there are cool, but that's about it. Cool, not spectacular. Nothing really stands out. Samurai game number 12 here. Last of Us port here, hero shooter sent out to die, you get the idea. Gaming companies are clearly incentivized to adhere to shareholders with the same old slop. Unfortunately, casual gaming audiences eat this stuff up and the numbers don't lie. If the majority are buying these tired games, why stop making them? I know this is also a tired talking point, but work with me here. This cycle has created an environment where creativity is actively discouraged in favor of formulas that guarantee a return on investment. Games that tick boxes on a spreadsheet rather than engage the gamer in any meaningful way. It is a disservice to the truly talented individuals that work at these companies who limit their creativity to ensure dinner's on the table. That is why we keep seeing tired sequels, bland open world titles, and countless remasters. Ballooning budgets need to be recouped somehow, leaving wondrous ideas at the door. Thankfully, some snooze fest titles are put out to pasture well before their release date. Need I remind you of Concord? And you know, it's Mikeychipmunks fashion to take you back. You remember a time when you'd go to GameStop as a child? You'd make a mad dash for the doors your parents, cousins, or some other guardian trailed behind you. That flood of excitement washes over you as you know you're about to ascend to the kingdom of proverbial gaming heaven. Everywhere you look, everywhere you go, there's a heart. And that is what these developers had, man. They had heart. They had the heart to go to distance like a certain boxer from Philly, crafting games with creativity and soul that we do not get to see enough of in today's sanitized world of video games. You'd look up and down the aisles, wacky box art as far as the eye could see, featuring all sorts of odd character designs, interesting screenshots, and even names that would have you scratch your head. Mr. Mosquito here, and Jammer Lammy there. I mean, does anyone remember ZooCube? Dude, take Oddworld. That game was bonkers bad fur day, brother. You kidding me? You played as this quirky alien named Abe, whose goal is to escape his meat factory gig because the executives are running low on animals to use for food. Naturally, looking towards Abe's people, the Madokan race. That game was and still a trip to play to this very day. Just chilling on the main menu was even wild. He would make all sorts of weird faces, and you were able to do some commands through Oddworld's GameSpeak system. If you played Oddworld, you know you made Abe fart and just laugh continuously. Don't forget about the whistles that he would do, like... In game, you were able to use these very same commands for various interactions you'd have with other Oddworld inhabitants. For the most part, you're using these to avoid guards that are hunting you down or hostile creatures outside of the factory. Spoiler alert, you do leave the factory, but it's not an easy ride for one Mr. Abe. But since I'm a sick puppy, I'd purposefully get Abe into horrible predicaments because how insanely funny it was. I'd sneak up to a guard and purposely fart in his face and laugh, waking him up to then gun me down and go You'd make like all these weird noises like
Get up.
In some other instances, I'd mock these like dog-ass creatures known as the slogs, leaving them to rip Abe to shreds or purposefully zap his friends for Abe to just say oops. Abe, you just killed your own flesh and blood, lowering them into an endless pit. The most you can muster is oops. I cracked myself up. Look, man, I have a warped sense of humor. I don't know what to tell you, but I would like burst out into these like hearty laughs, man, where like tears and snot just like float out endlessly. Like poor Abe is just trying to make it alive to the next day, saving his Madokan friends along the way, and all I do is get him into even more trouble. In the PS1 era, Oddworld was one of the flagship franchises where Abe was consistently recognizable to most gamers back in those days. Oddworld still exists, albeit nowhere near as big as it once was, and PlayStation certainly doesn't market it like they do something like Helldivers 2 or Last of Us. Oddworld is but one example of a moment in time where game developers dared to be different and think outside the box. Budgets were nowhere near as inflated as they are with modern AAA releases. You can genuinely feel the artist's expression then that wasn't stifled by a company's attempts to impress some snobbish shareholders with as many methods of extracting money from consumers as possible. I touched upon Skullmonkeys occasionally, and we'll take this opportunity once more to bring it up, because I love Skullmonkeys. The world of Skullmonkeys was brought to life with claymation, which was no easy feat then and is still the case today, unless majorly assisted by digital technology, of course. Coincidentally, you also have the ability to fart in this game, but it actually grants you a power-up in the process. Your fart acts like a clone of yourself, allowing you to take out enemies up ahead of you, until you get hurt, of course. Then you'll just revert back to your old body where you left off. I can't think of many, if any, games that feature such an ability now. I'd love to know down in the comment section below. They just don't make them like they used to, man. My heart yearns for more games like Skullmonkeys, Dr. Muto, or another tack in the Power of Juju. I know y'all remember running around the chicken suit, flying around, flapping your little wings, or hoisting the sheep on treadmills to operate doors. These wildly imaginative games adored every game store shelf at one point. Now you really have to dig for the weirder stuff and are usually being made by indie developers nowadays. Thankfully, Nintendo pumps a couple of them out occasionally, namely Pikmin. I always found the world of Pikmin so bizarre and enchanting. Cutesy plant creatures that can be plucked out of the ground to then be used to attack enemies, gather resources, and more was such a novel idea. The enemy designs were always so out of this world too, with names like Yellow Wollywogs, Puffy Blowhogs, and Beady Longlegs to name a few. You know the enemies had to look the part to match with their weird names also. What about consoles themselves? While wacky, wonderful software is always welcome, you first need a wildly wondrous little piece of plastic to enjoy those games on. This is a good time to speak of my dear beloved Sega Dreamcast. Alas, poor Yorick, we hardly knew her. The poor little feller succumbed to the behemoth that was PS2 in just 2 years of being on the shelf. But while it was alive and kicking, you know that thing was weird. First of all, the controller wire protruded from the bottom as opposed to the top, which was such a horrid idea. Seriously, I'm fumbling all around with this shit, trying to make it work, but it was too weird, but not in a dope way. What truly helped set this controller apart from the pack was its use of the VMU, or virtual memory unit. You can not only save your games on it, but you're able to interact with various elements of the games that you were playing, like Sonic Adventure and its Chow Garden, for instance. This was an insanely innovative feature that was way ahead of its time. You won't see shit like this today. Seaman for the Dreamcast alone could be its own video. It was essentially a life simulator game with events being narrated by Spock himself, Leonard Nimoy. Remember for Nimoy!
For Nimoy!
You would, how I say, repopulate the species. By intertwining your antenna like they're communicating over a telephone wire or something. Far out stuff, man. Rock on, I guess. The use of a microphone was cool too as you interacted with your semen. I mean, See, man said, oh, you get the idea. The creativity of these games really tickled my fancy in a way that's almost impossible to put into words unless you're truly in the know. There's something magical about when a game surprises you, not just with flashy visuals or big moments, but with subtle design choices, clever mechanics, or world building that speaks volumes without ever uttering a single word. I pride myself on my ability to really dig beneath the surface of whatever game I happen to be playing, whether it's the overlooked environmental storytelling in a secluded forest, little musical motifs, or my deep appreciation for just odd character design. I live for those little moments that some people just might miss. To me, playing games isn't just about entertainment, it's about discovery, reflection, and appreciation for the craft. That's the lens I bring to everything that I play, and it's a perspective I love sharing with others who feel the same pull towards the weird, the wonderful, and the wildly imaginative. So what is the solution? Bring back mid-tier titles again. You know, your AA level games, the Beautiful Joes of the world, if you will. And mind you, that is not a dig at Beautiful Joe. Beautiful Joe is one of the coolest games on the Gamecube, back when Capcom had an exclusivity deal with the Gamecube, that is, but not every major game release needs to be a blockbuster. I mean, look what happened this generation. With these overproduced, multi-million-dollar projects, gamers are getting way fewer games than ever before, and your biggest titles all play it safe. Like I mentioned, they have to recoup that money somehow. Companies need to let their freak flags fly once more with some smaller scale titles that also don't break the bank wide open. Do you remember how often we would get game releases back in the PS2 days? I mean, it was like damn near every month we were bombarded with not just a bunch of low quality games, although there was a lot of low quality games, but there was also a lot of top-notch stuff at the fraction of a cost of some of your Marvel Spider-Man 2s or your Horizon Forbidden West and how much they cost. Sony, here is my umpteenth cry for Ape Escape 4 that I'll never stop asking for as long as I get it. Catching monkeys in a net? Like PlayStation was a proper company once. Wrapping dogs? Monkey catching? Shit, whatever the this was. Just give me weird games again that isn't exclusively made by the little guys. From a 28-year-old frustrated gamer, rant over. I love when my games make me feel something. Asking a lot these days, it seems, I know. So here's my plea to the industry. Stop trying to make the next billion-dollar mega franchise and start trying to make something weird again. Go back to those times where just let it all out. That's what we play video games. It's about the artistic expression. Not everything needs to become this like overly sanitized, perfect formula of a video game. It's what me and my friends like to call a nice gamey game. That's all I got for you in this video, guys. I really want to hear in the comments below, what are some of your favorite weird games that you played growing up? Maybe you have some new favorites from indie developers. Maybe it's some old classics from the Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1, whatever. I didn't mention this in the video, but there was a game called Spider for the PS1 where you're literally a scientist that turns himself into a spider. I think it was on accident, but it's been a long time since I played it, but like, come on, dude. Stupid idea, and it was such a fun little game too. I really want to know what you guys thought about this. Like, did it bring up a lot of memories for you? Some of the titles that I mentioned? Let me know down in the comments below, and as always, have yourselves a good one.